Hello, everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I'm your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you. Or for those of you who don't know, in case you missed it, apparently the third best podcast in Spokane. It's okay. Bronze medal is all right. You placed. You have a place on the podium. But it's not as good as silver and definitely not quite as awesome as the gold. But I do want to thank you, Fan Nation, for voting. It was probably the only time that the Fan Show would be eligible to be voted Spokane's best podcast. The first year they've added the category, and then they go and they announce today, after weeks of waiting and all the stuff going on around us, and third best podcast in Spokane. We're still the award-winning Fan Show. Can never take that away from us. But for 2020, Spokane's third best podcast. I'm not bitter. I sound bitter, but I'm not. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. And I do want to thank you all once again for your votes, for your support, because it wouldn't have even placed without you. But there it is in the fine print. Down at the bottom, if you are in Spokane, get the Inlander. The best of issue came out today, and you will see the Fan Show listed under best podcast. So again, thank you. This is the show where everyone's a fan of something, and we have got something for every fan. And that includes if you're a fan of just whatever it is that you can do to pass the time right now, as we are in quarantine day. Is it day number 5? 6? I've honestly lost track because I don't know when quarantine officially started. I know that Washington, it was early, but we're in South Dakota now, Sioux Falls, and we've been kind of behind, if you will, the curve, which I'm thankful for. It means that things aren't as serious here as they are in places like Washington, California, New York. South Dakota is we've only had 9 confirmed cases. So that's good. Last time I checked, it could have changed overnight. It seems like everything is kind of changing overnight. But here we are. There's a blizzard outside. To top it all off, there's a blizzard happening outside in Sioux Falls. So as if Corona wasn't enough to keep you inside and drinking, there's a blizzard now that says, maybe you've thought too much about going out. We're going to stop you right there. Mother Nature's like, I'm going to stop you right there from going outside and trying to do anything crazy, like not social distancing yourself from other people. We don't want you to mingle with more than 5 people. And so we think that too many of you are not heeding the advice of the CDC and the WHO. So here's a blizzard for those of you in the Midwest. So just stay inside. Stay inside. Just whatever you thought about doing outdoors, put a pin in it for later. That's all you got to do. I will openly admit, honestly, I got a little stir crazy. I really did. I had to get out. I had to go and find something to do. It was a little grocery run, so to speak. I went and filled up the Storm Chaser 1 with gas at Hy-Vee, used our Fuel Saver rewards for that. Barely touched the fuel nozzle, I hand sanitized my stuff. And then went and got a Xbox controller for the missus. And then we got a 2-player Xbox One game, Marvel Lego superheroes that we can play together. And we haven't done that yet because I still have online schoolwork to do. Online school does not stop. In fact, a lot of schools are switching to online right now during this time. And also, just she's trying to keep herself occupied. I'm trying to keep myself busy. We had a meeting at the Storm office today about ways that we can keep occupied on this 30 to 45 postponement of the IFL. And we're hoping, I made the joke today, that this feels in the world right now kind of like a prison sentence. They say, okay, 5 years, Judge hits his gavel, all right, 5 years. But with good behavior, it could be down to 2, right? Maybe the lawyer can talk him down to even 1. That's kind of how I feel this quarantine of, 30 to 45 days is what we're going to say, but maybe sooner. Maybe if we're all on good behavior and doing what they say that we should be doing, which is not interacting with large groups of people and trying to keep this virus in check, that to me sounds like good behavior, doesn't it? And we could be out of this thing sooner than later. So we're hoping for the best here in the Fan Show. But yeah, there's a blizzard. There's coronavirus. There's just a lot of stuff going on. But I did want to do an episode this week. Obviously not 2 episodes because there wasn't a lot to recap. All the sports got canceled. Everything's canceled right now. But then it was almost as if all sports, baseball, basketball, indoor football, NCAA tournaments, wrestling, hockey, said, we're going to cancel everything. So there's nothing going on in the world of sports right now. And the NFL said, hold my beer. Hold it. Hold my beer. Because we've got free agency frenzy. And oh my goodness, has it been a frenzy. And that brings us to, of course, today's headlines, which we will start with a few things. There is a question of the day. But first and foremost, let us do our due diligence with the sponsor and proud partner of the Fan Show, and who's in charge of headlines. Headlines, of course, brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises. Now, Ethan does great work, and he does great work from his office. Now, he has had to order some things that you may want your logo or artwork on from overseas, so he may not be able to get that to you right now. But if there is something that you would like that he has in-house, shirts, polos, jackets, hoodies, backdrops, well, this one he had to order from afar. I don't know if it was overseas or not, but there's a lot of stuff he can do in-house, awards as well, trophies, plaques, you name it. And I'm very excited about how his business will continue to thrive during this time because they don't have a whole lot of employees they have to worry about. There's a lot of busy work that they can still be doing. So help support local. Even if Dynamite Enterprises is not in your town, they're still a great small business, and you can hit them up, dynamiteenterprises.com. Check out their Instagram, Dynamite Enterprises, and then, of course, email Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com. Now, supporting local is something I want to say right now that you can do. Some places, some mayors, governors have said ways to do it. Go and buy a gift card for a restaurant that you like. That is a local restaurant, small business, a mom and pop. Buy the gift card now to use it later so that they get that money now and they can stay afloat for another day or two, right? I mean, it's the best that you can do outside of just straight up donating money to these businesses. So support local. Make sure that whatever it is that you get, that you make sure that you get it now and that you use it later, because that's what's going to help them out the most right now. And in all honesty, I think that is a small gesture, but has a huge impact. So go and do that. Do what you can. And the question of the day, is this the craziest NFL free agency ever? Because it feels like it is. It really, really does. I mean, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff going on. I see that Adam has joined us, Le Champion. Says the Fan Show is hosed in the voting. It is what it is. I'm not bitter about it. He said New York is also getting wrecked right now. And I feel this is a prison sentence for all those memes I made of the Rattlers. Well, that's between you and Mother Nature, Adam. That is between you and Mother Nature. Now, free agency, as you see, I did the most important ones down on the ticker that's scrolling by, but let's go ahead and let's take a look here. I'm going to pull up NFL's Instagram and we're just going to go through it. We're going to take this from the top, and you tell me if you feel like this is the craziest NFL free agency ever, because I feel like if it's not, it should at least be in consideration. And whoever feels like there's a different free agency that was crazier, you better have a solid argument. So most recently, Darius Slay is now with the Eagles. Okay, so we have that one. Also, breaking news, Sean Payton apparently is the first member of the NFL family to test positive for the coronavirus. So wish him well, speedy recovery. Clay Matthews has been released by the LA Rams. Todd Gurley has been released by the LA Rams. Potential suitors for Todd Gurley, though. Popular vote said Tampa Bay. There's a reason. We'll get to that in a second. Don't beat me to it. But also Seattle. Is Seattle not the team that everyone says a free agent is going to land? Like, I swear, whether it's Jimmy Graham or Greg Olsen, mainly tight ends, right? Or running backs, now Todd Gurley, wide receivers, and then Jadeveon Clowney. He wasn't a free agent, though. I think they traded for him, if I remember right. But my point is that it seems like anytime people talk about a good fit or a potential suitor for a big NFL name, regardless of the position, Seattle's like at the top of the list. It's like, how does that always the case for Seattle? I don't get it. So Todd Gurley has been released. Then we have also Joe Flacco has been released by the Broncos. Don't know where he's going to end up. That's an interesting one. Broncos said they're done. The Falcons are going to sign Dante Fowler from the Rams. That's a good pickup for them. Now, the Eagles traded for Darius Slay, and that was, of course, a big domino defensively that needed to fall, and it has. Then we also have that Desmond Trufant has been signed by the Lions, former Falcon. Nick Foles has been traded to the Bears. Should Mitchell Trubisky be concerned? Yeah, he should. Yes, he absolutely should. And then the Seahawks are signing Bruce Irvin, also a member of the Panthers. The Rams are signing Andrew Whitworth, so they will keep him. The Chargers are signing Chris Harris. Then we have the Panthers releasing Eric Reed. Interesting move. But I get it. I do. The Saints are signing Malcolm Jenkins, longtime Eagle. So that will help them defensively. And the Broncos are trading for Jarrell Casey. Then we have the Cowboys signing Gerald McCoy from the Panthers. And then the big one, the domino that I don't know if anybody knew was going to fall. Now, I said it was Teddy Bridgewater, right? We remember that conversation we had a handful weeks, episodes ago, that Teddy Bridgewater was the domino that needed to fall. And it did. Teddy Bridgewater has signed with the Panthers, an NFC South rival of the Saints. Good fit, I believe. But Tom Brady is a Buccaneer. Where did this come from? This feels like the RKO of NFL moves in free agency. People were set on one of two things happening to Brady. He was either going to stay a Patriot or go to the Chargers. Once the Rivers LA divorce was official, right? Ugly divorce at that. But Brady was either going to stay in New England or he was going to be a Charger. And then people thought, well, he could end up with the Colts. Also, Tennessee was a front runner for a long time because Tannehill, was he going to stay or was he going to go? So it was, he's going to stay in New England. Now he's going to go to the Chargers. No, his kids are registered for schools in Tennessee, so he's going to go to the Titans. Well, what about Indianapolis? Mind you, Titans are a team that had decent quarterback play, but were they a great quarterback away from getting to the Super Bowl instead of just the AFC Championship? Maybe. Chargers, not even close. You get Brady, there's a lot more work you got to do. I don't know what it is they feel that they could accomplish with Brady that they couldn't with Rivers, because Rivers is a great quarterback. Hall of Fame worthy, even though he's never been to a Super Bowl. More Hall of Fame worthy than, dare I say, Eli Manning. And then you also had the Colts. They were teetering. They had potential. Potential with luck. Jacoby Brissett, he did a lot. Would Brady take them to the promised land? Could you imagine the controversy? Brady, the man that had kept the Colts out of the playoff run in the Super Bowl so many years, that beautiful rivalry between him and Peyton Manning, and now he goes and plays for him. And he goes to the Bucs. The Bucs weren't even on the radar as far as teams that were on the cusp. I just don't understand this move. Now, the rumor is that Gurley is going to end up on the Bucs. Okay, so now you have a running back. You have Mike Evans, phenomenal wide receiver. You have Godwin, but they also say that they're going to try to get rid of Godwin and maybe bring in Brandon Cooks from the Rams as well. So you have an offensive outline, so to speak, starting with Tom Brady, Evans, and then if Gurley shows up. But we saw this same thing. Mind you, I get we can't make the comparison at quarterback. I'm not trying to. I'm just simply stating that we saw another team load up on offense like this last offseason that was supposed to be that team to beat, and they were not, and that was the Cleveland Browns. They loaded up. They got OBJ. They had a solid running back tandem. They had Njoku, who was their tight end, and then, of course, Baker Mayfield, the future of the NFL. So they loaded up on offense. What are they doing defense and special teams? Do the Bucs even have that good of a defense? Their special teams, were they ranked? These are questions I don't have the answer to because, again, they were not even on the radar as far as being one missing piece away from playoffs and then deep playoff run on top of that. So the Brady move boggles my mind. Whatever they're doing, they better hope that they do it in the next year or two because that's all I feel Brady's going to give them. That's it. Matt has joined us on the chat. I see you, Matt. He said, Brady in Tampa Bay is Unitas for the Chargers or Namath for the Rams. Looks wrong. It really does. And he said, oh, Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. Or he said TB and TB. Makes sense. Sure, if you want to go down that road, absolutely. But those were some of the big ones that happened. Bridgewater, I think, will be fine for the Panthers. Where will Cam Newton go? He has been granted, or he has been allowed to seek trades amongst the NFL. What's the big move for him? I said Cam Newton was going to wind up with the Buccaneers, but now that Brady's there and Rivers has signed with the Colts, okay, that one makes sense. Ryan Tannehill has been extended in Tennessee. Holy crap, who saw that coming? They franchise tagged Derrick Henry. So the quarterback picture has gotten so screwed up that it's really anyone's ballgame at this point, except for teams that have already had their team established and have been building around moving the right pieces. Eric Armstead of the 49ers has been extended, but they have traded DeForest Buckner to the Colts. I will miss Defoe. I really will. I thought he was a fantastic defensive talent and personality. Colts are lucky to have him. But, man, this quarterback stuff, this is, in my mind, the craziest free agency ever. Beats out the Manning lottery and the Favre decisions. It does, because Marcus Mariota's a Raider. Like, this is crazy. The Colts signing Phillip Rivers, I think, will be a good fit, but their O-line has been a problem for them. That's why Luck had to retire. Their O-line was the issue. They had plenty of talent. They had a good defense. They had some really good weapons on offense, but their line was not so good. So we'll hope that they have addressed that issue. Where will Clay Matthews wind up? I feel like he's probably one of those guys that's going to become the next Eric Weddle. I know that Randall Cobb has moved on as well. It's very, very interesting and very fast free agency right now. Let's see if I missed anybody. We're still scrolling here. Yeah, Tom Brady announced 1 hour that he would not return to the Patriots, and then the next that he was going to sign with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is crazy. Steelers are signing Derek Watt. And then we have the Redskins signing Thomas Davis. And Stephon Diggs is now a Buffalo Bill. This is not the first time that the Bills have signed another great wide receiver. They had Sammy Watkins and did nothing with him. Their issue has not been wide receivers. Their issue has been elsewhere. That one's a little bit confusing to me, if you asked me, which you probably didn't. Chargers signing Brian Bulaga is a great move. And the Raiders getting Jason Witten is an interesting move. I don't think that they were in the market for a tight end, especially a veteran. Are they looking for locker room leadership, or does, Gruden just like him that much? I don't know. I did see an interesting tweet, though, that, every free agency move that had happened, people were like, this makes no sense, or this makes perfect sense, or this is the fit, or this fits perfectly for this team and their current need. And then in parentheses, quote, the person who beat rights for that team. And yeah, they're not wrong. Vic Beasley is a Titan. And Jordan Howard is a Dolphin. I mean, wow. Wow. Let's talk about something else, though, because I know really the question of the day, which you guys can continue to weigh in on, is this the craziest NFL free agency ever? But the bigger story, I think you guys all know what it is, and that is who you got going to the championship in the ultimate breakfast bracket. The original breakfast bracket, the one that was stolen by Black Adam Schefter a week later. And I'm a little upset about that. But here we are. We are down to 4. 2 rounds in, 2 rounds to go. We started with 16. We're down to Frosted Flakes in a nail biter, mind you. I mean, we had to go to the Twitter vote to see if there was a tiebreaker there, because you can vote both on Facebook, facebook.com/fanshowofficial, and the Twitter page at the same time. So you could vote twice if you wanted to, and that is at fanshowofficial. So Frosted Flakes, the number 1 seed, they have made it all the way to the Final Four. Cocoa Puffs, they were a number 4 seed, I believe. Yes, a 3 or 4 seed. They have made it to the Final Four. Captain Crunch was a number 2 seed. They've made it to the Final Four. And Cinnamon Toast Crunch, a 3 or a 4 seed, if I recall correctly, and they have made it to the Final Four. Now, Captain Crunch and Cinnamon Toast Crunch really could have been seeded higher or lower, depending on who you are. Fruity Pebbles, Fruit Loops, same thing. Cocoa Puffs, people wondering why Raisin Bran was in there. I'm honestly shocked that Wheaties didn't make it further, because I know enough sports people that Wheaties is the breakfast of champions, but yet it got taken down by Raisin Bran. Wow. So we have Final Four. Voting will begin for the Final Four, the 2 matchups to determine the championship tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Time. So make sure that you're on the lookout for those. I see that Matt Marshall has joined us. He says, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is your champ. You say that, but I think Captain Crunch might give them a run for their money. But Cocoa Puffs and Frosted Flakes, this is an interesting matchup. I thought Frosted Flakes would make it all the way to the championship, because in my mind, Fruity Pebbles are great, yes. But Frosted Flakes stayed crunchy for longer. Fruity Pebbles, it was like the first 3 or 4 bites were fantastic, and then the rest was just like colory mush. Like runny oatmeal that are rainbow colors that you're trying to shovel in your mouth. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, that could stay crunchy for a while. Captain Crunch, that one had a bit of a quicker soggy rate. I don't know what the proper terminology is here, okay, so work with me. And then Cocoa Puffs, probably one of the greatest 1-2 punches in cereal history, because it took a while for the hard cocoa pebble balls, or the puffs, to become soggy because they were solid. So you got extra long crunch time, and then the milk turned into chocolate milk at the end of it. So you had crunchy cereal for a while before it became soggy, and then once all the chocolatey stuff melted off the puffs, you could drink it down, finish off your bowl with some lovely Cocoa Puff chocolate milk. So that's why I think they're in the Final Four. I don't think people give Cocoa Puffs enough credit. Matt says Frosted Flakes all the way. Like I said, Frosted Flakes, they kind of gave you a sweet milk taste in your cereal bowl after. Captain Crunch and Cinnamon Toast Crunch didn't really give you much as far as the flavor of your milk once you were down to just the milk in that bowl. Adam says, those who voted for Raisin Bran should be ashamed of themselves. Raisins are the devil. They are not. Raisin Bran was the cereal that made you feel like you were eating something semi-healthy. I mean, if you look at the 16, right? Raisin Bran and Wheaties were probably the single healthiest cereal. And Rice Krispies, but nobody ever ate them as just Rice Krispies. They always put like one or two giant spoonfuls of sugar on the damn things, and that pretty much eliminated the whole health factor. So there's no health to this whatsoever. I am surprised that Lucky Charms couldn't take down Cinnamon Toast Crunch, because that was that balance that you got healthy and then not so healthy. And you got marshmallows. Of course, everybody tried to get the spoonful of marshmallows, and then once you were out of marshmallows, once you were done marshmallow hunting, it was just down to the little, the what are they even called? Are they is that the Charms? No, the marshmallows are the Charms. I don't know what those are. The kernels? Whatever. But Kix and Pops, I figured, didn't really stand a chance. Although Kix are kid tested, mother approved. Matt says, Raisin Bran as a kid made me feel like an adult. I will give you that. Jacob has joined us. He says, Cinnamon Toast Crunch beats Frosted Flakes all day or I riot. It's going to be a tough one. He also says, Raisin Bran is the tasty, healthy option. Very true. Adam, I'm sad that Lucky Charms lost. They're magically delicious. They are, but Frosted Flakes is not just good. It's great. So go Frosted Flakes. They're who I picked to go. Final Four is a good one. And then once we're done with this, we've got our 90s nostalgia cartoon bracket coming at you. And that's not limited to 16. No. You cannot simply limit 90s cartoons of Saturday morning and after school to just 16. No. So we upped it to 32, and that is going to be chaotic. I have to figure out the seating while this tournament finishes out. So those are things that you can look forward to. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the bracket. I really do. I want to thank you all again for voting for the Fan Show. It was Spokane's third best podcast. Maybe I don't know if Sioux Falls does a best of. I feel like they do, but maybe the Fan Show can become Sioux Falls' best podcast if there is such a category. I had to beg the Inlander to add that category for Spokane, and then they added the year I moved. Oh well. Joke's on them. I took third. Bronze. Where's my medal? Where is my medal? Jacob also says Fruit Loops was who I picked to go all the way. Looks like that didn't even come close. I loved Fruit Loops just because they were simple. Speaking 100% brutally honest, I think that Honey Nut Cheerios is the greatest cereal. I really do. It rarely got soggy. I think the crunch factor on that one was an 11. Okay. Frosted Flakes a 10 easily, but Honey Nut Cheerios was always good. The whole thing was delicious. It wasn't like Frosted Mini Wheats where you had one side was great and the other side was not, and then that turned into soggy mush. So there's a lot of great, benefits to the different cereals. I'm a huge fan of Honey Nut Cheerios, Frosted Flakes, and Fruit Loops because you get the same thing with every spoonful, and the crunch lasts way longer than most. And of course, Cocoa Pebbles. Or Cocoa Puffs. Cocoa Pebbles, if you were upset that them or Oops All Berries or, Frosted Cheerios or whatever weren't in the tournament, it was the base one. So a vote for Fruity Pebbles was a vote for Cocoa Pebbles as well. Like, you can't do all 28 variations of cereal. It's a tournament that goes beyond 64. And we didn't have time for that. Matt says, Animaniacs better be on it or we are no longer friends. They are. I'm debating if they're a 1 or a 2 seed. It's tough because there's certain cartoons that have really resonated with pop culture even beyond their running. Dragon Ball Z, I feel, has got to be a 1 seed. Doug and Hey Arnold, I feel, have got to be 1 and 2 seeds. But SpongeBob, even though it was 99, and this is 1989 through 1999, was also a 1 or a 2 seed. And then you have things like X-Men could easily be a 1 or a 2 seed. I feel when you get further seeding, the obvious ones for lower seeds are like Ed, Ed and Eddie, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Bobby's World, the Powerpuff Girls, things like that. Dexter's Laboratory, is that a 1 or a 2 seed? Is that a 3, a 4? These are the decisions I have to make, and I'm not looking forward to them. So thank you. Adam says, only thing I'll say about the 90s nostalgia tournament, let's get dangerous. Darkwing Duck, I feel, could easily be a great argument for a 1 or a 2 seed. I really do. Jacob asks, are you going to cover the UFC now that they're the only people who didn't cancel every event? I've done UFC specials before because I have my friend Logan up in Alaska who's a big UFC fan. But once he had a kid, he just he wasn't as available as he was before that. Life happens, and I get it. But even the UFC, when Conor McGregor was out and there was all that controversy, it seemed like it was less entertaining. So I don't know. We might do UFC specials the week of fights because that's how we used to do it. But as far as regular talk here, I don't know. Right now, everything, including the show and how frequently I do it, is kind of up in the air and day to day. So we'll just hope that we get enough content to suffice a 40 to 50-minute episode. And obviously we've done that. I've got a great interview with Jose Jefferson, who's been a player and a coach and involved with the IFL since it started, since the beginning, the early days of the IFL. And he shares his thoughts on what's going through the players' minds. What would he have done if he was a coach during this pandemic? And what's next for the IFL and for sports in general? So I think it will be very informative for you guys wondering. And I'm really looking forward to you guys getting to listen to it. And Raymond and Hannah say, cereal, really? Yeah, absolutely, cereal. And Jacob says Ferguson versus Khabib special. I could do that. Jacob, if you want to do that, message me, because if you have some strong opinion about UFC, would love to have new guests, new outlooks, new insight on things. So let's make it happen, man. I think this will be a lot of fun. So without further ado or any more delay, we'll go ahead and give you guys the musings of Jose Jefferson of the College Gridiron Showcase and, of course, the Sioux Falls Storm. Enjoy! All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now to give us his insight, a man who's been around the league since its inception, way back in the day, but he'll still do a backflip if you call him out on it. He is Jose Jefferson. How you doing, Mr. Jefferson?
Oh, I'm doing like everybody else, just all holed up, but I'm good. Everything's good.
Yeah, it's really weird. This obviously unprecedented, never anything like it before. We've had strikes in sports. We've had delayed seasons. We've had stoppages for various reasons, but never everything all at once and like this. And then, of course, so much changed in 48 hours, 24 hours, an hour. I mean, it was just crazy. And I know that obviously you're director of player personnel for the Sioux Falls Storm, and you've been around the league for a long time, but you obviously have your career elsewhere, also coaching track and field, and then doing scouting and running the College Gridiron Showcase. So how has this affected your world, since you have kind of so many different hats that you wear in the world of sports?
Yeah, it's different. My day job is the executive, actually I'm the associate director of partnership development at Viterbo University, and so that's the day job. And as you said, I coach track. I was finishing up an MBA, and obviously do CGS. I work with Coach Riggs with Sioux Falls, and everything comes to a screeching halt, with the exception of my day job. I still go to work every day, which is kind of something that's a little bit interesting on my end, because it's a ghost town at our school, because they've sent all the students home, they send all the instructors home. But in the email sent by our president, we need to show up to work as usual, which is, there's not anything usual about this situation. But the track season and the school as part of the NAIA was canceled for the rest of the season. The IFL was on postponement, and then my classes for my MBA meet face-to-face, and they're not able to go online, so I'm pretty much at a standstill with school. But I for the most part, I'm pretty blessed, and I'm healthy, and this kind of gives you time to, reflect on some things that are important, spending time with family, kind of getting to those things that you kind of let slide by. So just trying to be optimistic about it, and trying to be positive, just because there's enough negativity going around, not so much because people, I'm upset just like everybody else is about things not being able to happen. However, there's really nobody to blame right now. And since there's nobody to blame, all we can do is just kind of rally together and do the best we can.
If you were a player, like what would you want? Because teams are giving them options to go home, obviously, but to go home to what? Is it a 9 to 5? Because there's no other sports going on right now. So as a player, how do you think you would have felt if this had happened during your playing days?
Oh God, I'd have been upset. I'd have been furious. Because you're not thinking about. They're thinking about different goals at the time. I mean, these guys are. When I was playing, I was probably not the player that most of these guys are in the league. I had my opportunities with the NFL, which was pretty brief, but this is their opportunity to showcase themselves. This is an opportunity to make a little money. This is an opportunity to live out the dream. And now for a circumstance that they don't understand, which I don't think anybody fully understands, it's taken away. However, a voice of reason has to come into your head and say, whoever's making these decisions, they're doing it out of your best interest, the best interest of the whole. That's sometimes hard to see when you're younger, and this is what you have. I'm dealing with this with college athletes right now, seniors who had their senior year taken away. And I was pretty fortunate to where I finished 2 sports as a senior on the field. I can't even begin to explain to them what they should be feeling right now. I really, truly feel for every player involved. And I'm getting a lot of calls now, a lot of calls from players from CGS that want me to throw a free agent event through CGS because not being able to play or not being able to get the film. And that's something that I'm seriously considering, and I'm not going to take advantage of it and well, this tryout's going to cost $500. No, we're going to try to do something reasonably economic and get as many scouts in front of guys as we can. And everybody's hurting with this, so maybe that's my way to contribute, because I definitely don't have a cure for the coronavirus, and I definitely don't have the money to finance, the league or the players. But maybe this is something that I can do to contribute and maybe lessen the blow of something that they thought they've lost.
Yeah, it's not an easy position to be in, obviously. There's pros and cons to all of it. So a player, I don't envy that position whatsoever, because this is the time of year you look forward to if you're looking to put film together. So obviously now you have to be put on hold for that. A lot of places canceled kind of everything, where this one has been just sort of, put on pause, as some have said, and which is great. I don't know what that affects as far as the season, the schedule, and then how many games are actually played. But now let's shift focus from your time as a player to your time as a coach. Riggs and company clearly did not have an easy decision, and they didn't even really have a whole lot of say in, because this had to come down from the ownership. But as a coach, what does this look like from that standpoint as far as your day-to-day operations and trying to salvage a season?
Well, it's tough because you work all off season to get the team you like, get the guys in you like, and especially as far as the season has gone, camp, a couple of teams have played. So, you're there. It's not like this happened, you brought in all 40 guys and then next thing you know, the season's postponed. That's a little different. I was at a couple practices this year to where, Curtis released a few guys. And that's tough. And that means we're ready to go. And now it's like ready, set, stop. And you have to be really creative, because I feel I'm a very good coach. I think Curtis is an excellent coach, but we're not trained for this. The closest thing to this is 9/11. And I was a coach in 9/11. I was coaching in Lincoln, the Lincoln Lightning in the AF2. And I was coaching college, and I never when that happened, I remember where I was at. And, I remember college games being halted, practices being halted, and kind of like right now, the way the world's, being halted. However, that was a known threat. And just like, leaders back then, I mean, I am more democratically speaking than Republican speaking. And I thought Bush did a heck of a job of managing, the country through that crisis. Just like right now, I'm more democratically speaking than Republican speaking, but I think Donald Trump has a heck of a job in front of him to calm these storms. And, it trickles down. It really does. And so as a coach, you have to think administratively. You have to protect everybody. You have to protect your players, and you have to protect your ownership too. So it's uncharted water, because you want to take care of these guys, because they're going to put their bodies on the line for you. They want to take care of these owners, because guess what? They're the ones putting it on for you. They're the ones that are making it possible for everybody to do it. So you have to kind of look at it from all ends, and this is where the business part of coaching comes in. If you're just looking at it as, we need to play games, I got these guys in, you're missing the boat. Because as I said before, when we were talking, yes, I think every coach right now would want to play. But if they're not allowing people into the arenas and can't have more than 10 people, all these things that go on, guess what? Somebody's going to have to pick up that tab. And that's a financial decision at that point in time, more so than a health decision. But then again, say if somebody gets hurt in practice or in a game, right now, all elective surgeries are getting put off for 8 weeks. That's huge.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, I mean, and we've all been injured. Can you imagine sitting 8 weeks with a broken arm or a broken clavicle or torn knee that guess what? It's an elective surgery. So you have to sit with it and deal with that. It's tough decisions. So I guess I've always said I was never going to sell my soul for a win. And, no, I'm not going to like it. But at the end of the day, I can rest assured that I would rather have a player be upset with me because we're not playing to keep them safe, as opposed to just say, go out there and if something happens, then you made that decision, you did that, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to do that. And I can guarantee you any coach would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, it felt like it was a better safe than sorry. I mean, the league, got together Thursday. The census is that they wanted to at least try to get through that weekend and then reconvene Monday
Right.
and see where they at. But, things happen so fast, and then teams decide to start canceling. And of course, Sioux Falls was kind of behind the 8 ball, being one of the last games of that second week of football. So much has changed in that one day. What is 4 more days added onto this
Right.
look like? So,
Right.
the Headleys, the Richters, and the Garys, they got together. Of course, Coach Riggs was there. They made the tough decision, and then it turned out to be kind of, not necessarily a domino to fall, but they were ahead of the game, because that's when the state, the county, the whole country decided to start shutting things down as a whole. So it really seemed like it was inevitable, and it's heartbreaking. And so now we have a situation where they had a meeting the other night, and they've decided to postpone the season. And obviously, as someone who's on the outside, so to speak, I mean, you're involved with the team, but you're not a player, you're not a coach, you're just involved. And so you kind of have this perspective now where you see it from all angles. What kind of pros and cons, and how do you think this discussion went as far as trying to salvage a season and where to draw certain lines at?
Wow. I mean, I think they're smart with postponing it, because it's I have a heavy heart for the kids in the NCAA and the NAIA that are losing their seasons, and I get that. I totally get that, and it's smart. But my heart goes out. The indoor football league postponing is smart, because and say things blow over in 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the timeline. You get enough people quarantined, they find a vaccination or what have you. At the point in time, they can extend this season. They can push it to a different time of year, or they can spread it out. If things go hopefully well, maybe maybe we're playing into August, maybe we're playing into September, because then you're battling outdoor football, but at the same time, at least you're playing and you're given another option. And I don't know. I just, it's so tough. And I feel bad for the owners of Sioux Falls and any new owners that are out there, because they're fans that fell in love with the game, fell in love with the team. And this is your first experience as owners. Wow. That's not fair. Yeah. It is not fair. And it's a bad beat. Todd Bryant, who I've known for over 20 years, he's stepping in to be a commissioner. And I know he's thinking probably the worst thing I'm going to have to deal with is, maybe some team issues, misappropriated funds or fights or bad officials, people complaining, this is a bad beat for him too. I guarantee you somebody's like, I don't know why he's doing that. He's doing that because he's doing it for the best interest of the whole. And he's been an owner. So I guarantee you he put his owner hat on right next to his commissioner hat and say, what would I want as an owner? What would I want from a commissioner? And those are the decisions. And I just feel for a lot of people right now. And I think that's the biggest thing you can show is empathy and help people the best way you can. Me and Coach Riggs talk daily on text. He's like, well, maybe it's an opportunity to look at some personnel. True. We could do that. Maybe it's an opportunity to, kind of see where we are, where we want to go. If there's any holes we want to fill, but it's slow. But at least it's active, it's proactive. But I wish I could speak from an owner's view, because I don't spend the money. I know with CGS, I've been asked several times am I going to have CGS next year, or would I have postponed if it was me? And I'm in a different position. What I have, Sherrod, we have over 500-600 people that show up at CGS every year, and I am not going to put that many people in danger. And it's a business for me as well, but not one that I want to put people in danger. That's what I want to do. But these owners, like I said, they're suffering. Just like, I was just reading something to where they were saying the employment rate's going to go up like 20%, which is insane when you think about it, because what are we at, like less than 7, 5, whatever it is, unemployment rate, and they're talking about it being up to 20. And, we're talking about a sport, a great sport. I love indoor football. I really do. I think I'm a little bit beyond being a head coach in it anymore, and not because I don't feel like I'm good. I just think there's better guys out there, more guys that are going to put the time in. And they're teasing me at Sioux Falls, calling me the godfather of indoor football, because I've been around since '98. So I figure that's probably a cue for me to be in the background, which is just fine. But I love the sport, and I think there's a lot of great fans with the sport. There's a lot of great personalities with the sport. And I'm thinking, at least I not being in the room, not being on the call, just the feeling that the commissioner and the owners want to preserve that. They really want to preserve that. And the only way you're going to preserve it is to make sure that it's around. So it's a tough call. It really, really is. But like I said, my hat's off to all of them to be able to make those decisions for the good of the whole, as opposed to, being selfish and trying to put people's lives at risk, not even only players, but fans.
Not an easy position to be put into, and I think players, coaches, owners, fans alike, one, frustrated, obviously. That's a given. That's the immediate reaction. But two, I think feel somewhat relieved that we were only technically 1 week into the season. I mean, 2 games. And so there's 4 teams out there now that are probably wondering, okay, what happens to our record and our game? Are we completely hitting the reset? If we can start sooner, does that mean we'll start sooner? What does that look like for schedule? So there's a lot of questions that just can't be answered right now. But
right.
The fact is that there's hope for the 2020 season still.
Like I said, I guarantee you, those owners and Todd, and probably more often than not, and they probably have redone the schedule probably about 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different times. Bet a paycheck on it that's what's going on.
Well, you would know better than some, and although you never owned a team, you did own some of the other coaches and teams in the league during your time as a coach and a player. So you got that going for you. But your insight is always appreciated, Jose.
No, thank you. And like I said, be safe, be smart, and hug the loved ones because you're going to be around them for a while.
Yeah, we're in like day 3 of self-quarantine right now. So he is, once again, Jose Jefferson, former player, former coach, director of player personnel for the Storm. He's a track and field coach at Viterbo, and then the man behind CGS. So thank you so much for your time, sir. Have a good night. And one more big thank you to Jose Jefferson for taking the time to join us on the F.A.N show, and we're happy to be back. I'm happy to be back. And I wish I could give you a more solid answer as far as what the schedule of the F.A.N show will look like. But given as the rest of the world is really just kind of, up in the air and subject to change, the F.A.N show is going to be right in there. But we will continue to bring you quality content as we receive it. So NFL free agency, keep doing your thing. Keep doing you, because you are definitely filling a void right now. I have an electric football table. I have Xbox games. I have the ability to live stream, and I have, of course, the ultimate breakfast bracket, as well as 90s nostalgia tournament coming up. So we're occupying the time. We are helping to make you not go stir crazy and have The Shining like experience in your home. So thank you all once again for your continued support and love of the F.A.N show. I really do wish that we had better news to bring you, but take a moment, smile, call a loved one you haven't talked to in a while, maybe a friend, maybe send somebody a text, not an ex, but friend, relative that you haven't spoken to in a while. Use this as an opportunity. Take the bad and make it good. Like I've always said, with me being an online student for Full Sail in the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, I don't have access to a big fancy studio down there on campus. I don't have professors that I can just go into the classroom the next day and talk to about this, that, or the other. When I lived in Spokane, I was 3 hours behind the whole school and everything, and it was very difficult to communicate sometimes. I'm part of the inaugural online class, and although I'm at a disadvantage of not having all these tools and things at my disposal like the on-campus students do, I have turned that into my advantage by going out and seeking opportunities to make the most of my time as a student. So take the negative, make it a positive, turn a disadvantage into an advantage. However you may do that. But that's my advice to you. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. Don't forget, like the Facebook page. That's how you get the exclusive. Hear it, see it before anybody else. And of course, if you can't, make sure that you are subscribed, either iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. And we record on Spreaker.com. So it's not official unless it's F.A.N Show official. We are officially out of here. So F.A.N Nation, from me to you, thank you so much. Best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners. And of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.